Welcome, everyone. We now have a quorum. Sorry for the little bit of a late start. You know, we have a new president. We have to get chatty. So we're reconvening from closed session. There are no reportable items from closed session. So with that, I would ask you to stand, and I will lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, just as a point of order, Trustee Cardoza is not available today. She's probably taking some well-deserved time off. Public comment, per board policy 2350, any person may address the board at this time, either on an agenda item or other matters of interest to the public that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. A maximum of 5 minutes is allowed for each speaker, with a maximum of 15 minutes per item unless otherwise extended by the board. Are there any public comments today concerning items that are on the agenda? None. Public comments today concerning items that are not on the agenda? None as well. Okay. So with that, we will move on to board and executive staff reports. There is no student trustee report at this time. Board member reports, starting to my left, none, and none. Mr. Foster is here, and we will have a foundation report.
Hello, everyone. Well, we finished out our fiscal year, and so it's allowed us to start taking a look at some of our year-end numbers. And so I wanted to report just a few of those numbers that we look at to see how well we're doing. One of them is we recognize 3 categories of donors, the partners, sponsors, and benefactors. And we're looking at the changes in the number of each of those members in each of those categories. So our partners, which are donors that have given $5,000 or more, last year we had 8, this year we had 21. So a 262% increase in the number of partner donors this past year. Sponsors, which are donors that are giving between $1,000 and $4,999, we had 104 this year, and that's down from 109 last year. So it held pretty even there. And then our benefactors, which are donors giving $500 to $999, we had 127 of those this year over 111 last year, a 15% increase. So overall, we're doing pretty well with the number of donors in each of those categories going up. Yes, sir?
Why do you think you got such a big increase in the $5,000?
We had a few good new endowed scholarships come through, so that's certainly accountable for at least two of those. We had a partnership with an event, and so we had an opportunity to get $5,000 donors a little easier. We actually had a way to ask for that, because we usually don't ask for that much money, and so we're obviously going to keep doing that. I'll trade out a couple of sponsors for if they up to partnership. But again, we haven't dove too deep into the hows and whys yet. We have the hard numbers at this point. We also just kind of looked at globally, like how many individual gifts did we receive over the year, and we had 2,409 gifts. And that could be you, Trustee Sherman, giving us 3 gifts. That would count as 3 in that number. So we had 2,409 different gifts, totaling $684,599. Over last year, we had 2,175 gifts, totaling $539,000. So we had 11% increase in the number of gifts and a 27% increase in the dollar value of the gifts. So we've been trying to increase people's individual commitment to the college, and it seems to be working. Our year-end numbers for alumni, our alumni database is at 462. That's just a tiny fraction of the number of alumni out there, but we are getting them to opt in, and we're getting about one a week. And then I have in front of you the upcoming event dates. You can see we have the COS football kickoff dinner. This is new. We usually would have a crab feed in the spring towards the end of the season, or past the end of the season, I should say. This time we're doing sort of a Meet the Giants kind of format on August 18th. We have the Rotary Brew Fest, which is an equal partnership with the Rotary clubs, and looking to raise $50,000 that will split 50-50 on August 2nd. The Crush Party is different this year. Ken, I want you to know this, especially being from the Tulare group. The Tulare Chamber is running this event, but we are a beneficiary of the event. We're going to get a flat donation as an outcome of this, and they're keeping whatever's left over beyond that.
Okay.
But we're certainly helping them, and we're providing the space and that type of thing. And then, of course, we have the Hall of Fame. I mentioned last meeting those Hall of Famers that were being inducted, and that event is happening on October 11th here at the Porter Fieldhouse.
All right, questions for Mr. Foster? Thank you, Tim. All right, next up is the accreditation report.
Good evening, everyone, and congratulations and welcome to our new superintendent president, Mr. Calvin. We have now received, I'm going to hand to you our roster for our visiting team, so I'll hand that to you. We got this a couple of weeks ago. So we have a 9-member team, including, and in addition to that, the 10th member will be the ACCJC staff liaison, which I have spoken to you about now that the that the ACCJC also sends a staff liaison who is Dr. Stephanie Droker. So she'll be joining our chair, Dr. Walters from Allen Hancock College, and then you have 4 academic representatives and 3 administrative representatives on the back of that paper. So we received our notification on June 20th that this is our team. We are supposed to let them know if there's any conflicts of interest, and we have not found any of those yet with any of the team members. And they confirm that they will be here Monday, October 1st through Thursday, October 4th. And also reminded us to send them our self-evaluation 60 days prior to the visit. And we plan to have that out by the end of this week, mailed to all of the team members and the ACCJC. And they basically just gave us a little information on setting up the visit, of which we are all prepared to do. So next steps, we're getting that out to them, and we have our team, and we're looking forward to sharing how fabulous we are in October. Mr. Zumwalt.
I noticed there's only one faculty member on this team. Is that a little shorter than usual?
In general, they have a really difficult time getting the faculty on their teams. I think from my experience, there's been 1 to 3 faculty on the teams I've been on. I don't know about you, Mr. Calvin, about between 1 and 3. But it's getting faculty or teaching, it's a little harder to get them out of the classroom for the commitment that this takes. But I think usually it's 1 to 3, and it's probably okay.
Anything else?
Good. Okay.
All right.
Thank
Sounds
you.
like you're well prepared.
We're ready. Thank you.
All right, next item is Superintendent President's Report. Mr. Calvin?
Thank you, Mr. Nunez. I've got a couple of quick items, and then I'll cede the rest of my time to Dr. Lacerna and a few others that will introduce some new faculty and managers. But I wanted to remind the board, and really everybody, that we will be celebrating our fall convocation on Friday morning, August 10th, starting at 8 a.m. in the theater. Hopefully you've got that on your schedule already. If not, again, that's Friday, August 10th, from 8 to 9:30 or so. And then on a sad note, we lost former Superintendent President Lincoln Hall this past week. He passed away. Lincoln came to the College of Sequoias in 1957 and retired as our superintendent president in 1991. He came as an economics instructor, served in several capacities here at the College of the Sequoias, left for 2 years to be the president at Reedley College, and then came back in 1984, succeeded Dr. Cruikshanks, and remained as superintendent president until 1991. Retired, and this was interesting, I was reading his obituary, and the very week that he retired here, he went and did a interim superintendent fill-in job in Southern California. Liked it so much, he did another 11 of those in retirement. 12 interim superintendent roles. A great man. We lost his wife, Jerry, earlier this spring. Can only be described as one of the kindest guys you'd ever want to know. And a real giant through and through, and we're gonna miss Link Hall. His service will be at Gateway Church next Thursday, a week from this Thursday, the 19th of July, viewing from 10 to 11 with a service from 11 to 12. That's at Gateway Church, just down Tulare, close to Mount Whitney High School. And with that, I'll welcome up Dr. Lacerna, who's got a few introductions to make.
So we have 2 new faculty to introduce tonight, and we had an opening in our physical therapy assistant program, and so Dr. Shingle, our Associate Dean and Director of Physical Therapy, is going to introduce our first new faculty member.
Thank you. So it's my pleasure to introduce our newest physical therapist assistant professor, and also come with this job is a release time to coordinate all the clinical education hours, over 680 hours that our students spend in clinical placements, and so this position coordinates all of that. So this is James Piscini, physical therapist assistant. He goes by Jimmy, so I'm going to read that. So Jimmy is a proud alumni. He graduated from our inaugural class of our COS Physical Therapist Assistant Program. One way to increase our alumni association is to hire them. Jimmy went on to earn his bachelor's degree in physical therapy assistant from Pima Medical Institute in Tucson, Arizona. He is now completing his master's degree in adult education and training from the University of Phoenix, and he'll be done in this next March. He has served as a PT assistant for 4 years at Community Medical Center in Fresno, was seen as a clinical leader in the clinic, and he helped with our C6 grant develop our rehab aid program. It was at Jimmy's guidance that we worked with Luann very strategically on developing the rehab aid program that we're very proud of now. It basically was his idea, and I found the money. So we work well together. He has then taken the position, at the same position we hired him for. He's been the Director of Clinical Education for the Institute of Technology in Clovis, California, and he also serves as guest lecturer for different courses in our PTA program here at COS. Jimmy also represents PT assistants on several national and state levels of the American Physical Therapy Association, and there is absolutely no greater role model for our students than to have Jimmy Piscini on our faculty team. So we're pleased to welcome Jimmy to the COS PTA team.
Anything else you'd like to say? Questions?
You want to give a speech?
I didn't prepare anything, but if anybody has any questions, I'm an open book, so.
What year
I'm
did you
excited to be back.
graduate from the program here?
2012. So I was part of the first class here at COS, and I'm definitely glad to be back. So, back home.
All right, sounds like you're well qualified.
What made you decide that teaching was your future as opposed to practicing?
So I don't, excuse me, I don't want to do teaching instead of practicing. I definitely am looking forward to getting back to clinical practice just in some capacity, because that's what originally drew me to the profession of physical therapy is patient care. But I think Jonna asked me the same question during the interview process, and there was something that triggered in me actually while I was a student here, and I knew that I was going to get back to education. So I kind of made it my goal at that point while I was a student here at COS that that was the path I was going down, and I haven't looked back since. So,
Well, and welcome back.
thank you. Thank you.
Thank
guys.
you.
Okay, our second faculty member actually couldn't be here tonight, but we're going to go ahead with the introduction. And this is actually an expanded position that was funded through our Strong Workforce Program in bringing advanced industrial technology, but the advanced level. So this was a request from our all of our employers. And so we're really excited about this position. And so Dr. Russell will tell you a little bit about Travis Asher.
Good evening. So as Dr. Lucerna mentioned, new program, industrial automation, which is really that next level above our very successful industrial maintenance program. When we developed this program and looked to hire somebody, it became obviously incredibly important that we had the backing and the support of our industry partners. The program, again, as Dr. Lucerna mentioned, really came about because of strong interest and almost kind of pressure from our industry partners to address an educational gap in the community. And so our ideal situation would be to hire somebody who was already well respected within that industry by our local employers, who had a tremendous amount of energy, who could be flexible. It's really tough to start a program from scratch and take that by the horns and run with it. So making sure that we had somebody that had that capability, that capacity, that tenacity, all of those things, all those acidity things, became important. So we were really pleased that we had the opportunity to get Travis on board. So Travis Asher is who we're talking about. He's a local product, Edison High School in Fresno, and then a Bachelor of Science in Electrical Engineering at Fresno State University. For several years was a trainer at the Edison Energy Education Center down in Tulare. So had taught in that capacity for quite some time. Very, very well respected. A lot of our employers, a lot of our business partners in manufacturing send their people back to upskill at Edison, as well as some of our instructors take advantage of that too with our students. And then he spent 4 years as an automation specialist with Allied Electric, where he was actually their trainer. So many of the same businesses that our graduates are going to for employment, he is already in those, has already been in those plants doing their customized training and upskill with those companies. So, when we were checking references, one of the cooler things that they said about Travis was when something new comes out, he's the one that they put on any new stuff, and they have him learn it, he figures it out, and then his job is to teach it to everybody else, not only within Allied, but obviously within the greater industry as well. So we feel really good about having Travis on board, and he obviously doesn't start for another month and a half, but he's already been working, helping us get things lined up, and has been on site getting things arranged, and he's already working hard off the clock, so we feel good about it.
All right, thank you. Any questions, comments? Okay.
Any questions for Thad on that? Okay.
Apparently not.
Thank you. So I'm going to introduce now our new academic dean, if Mr. Lubin can come up here. So as you know, Dr. Marshall Fulbright left in spring, and so we had an interim person here. He met Dr. Riggs, and then we did a search for a new academic dean. At the same time, we split out. We did some reorg, and we split out some divisions. So there's a brand new division of language arts and art. What do we call it? Language and communication. And so there's some new things that this dean will be responsible for. And then at the next meeting, we'll be introducing you to a new associate dean who we also have just hired. And that person, he will be coming on in July and taking part of the other load that we did through the reorganization. So we're really excited to have Richard Lubin here. And Richard is actually a product of the California Community College system. He attended Cabrillo College and studied liberal arts there. And then he got his bachelor's degree in art from California State University, Sacramento. He also has a master's in fine arts in painting and drawing from the Instituto Allende in Mexico. And he has served as faculty in art in Puerto Rico, Mexico, Canada, and the United States. So he's been all over the place. And he's obviously bilingual in Spanish and English, obviously. and both. Yeah, we'll see about that. He was a Fulbright visiting research chair in Canada, which I thought was really exciting there as well. He has served as Associate Professor of Art and Department Chair for South Texas College, and most recently he was the Dean of the Arts Division for Lane Community College in Oregon. And so we stole him from Lane Community College, and he and his wife made their way down from Oregon a couple of weeks ago, and so he's been here 3.5 days because we had a holiday last week. So on his 4th day, he gets to meet the board. So welcome, Richard Levin.
Thanks, everyone. It's really nice being here. I grew up in Northern California, but it's been about 30 years since I lived in the States, so it's nice to be back.
You picked a good hot time to come.
Yes, indeed, yeah.
Lane is located where?
Eugene.
Eugene, Oregon,
Yes.
home of the Ducks.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. A great running community, very different climate.
Yeah.
Much better.
I'm forward to the No, but
Well,
it's wonderful being here.
Welcome to Sequoias, and anybody else have a question? Nice to have you.
Thanks very much.
You want me to introduce Kristen or you
Oh, I'm sorry.
want me? Okay.
I'm asleep at the switch here. I'd like to introduce Dr. Kristen Robinson, who will introduce, are we going director, or are you going to introduce Dean?
Jack was last meeting.
Okay.
So just Dean.
I didn't know it.
No, that's fine. So as you know, College of Sequoias has 3 police academies, 2 intensive that meet Monday through Friday, typically a few Saturdays and Sundays. But then we have a 10-month academy, extended academy, that meets 10 months every Saturday and Sunday and a few Fridays. The only thing that takes more dedication to going through that once is to be the director, the coordinator over that program that will be there for more than one term of that. So with that, it's my pleasure to introduce Dean Morrow for this position. Dean brings 27 years of law enforcement experience and nearly 20 years of teaching in our academy. He has completed the intermediate post-certificate and post-supervisory and management courses. Dean began his career with the Kings County Sheriff in 1980 and retired as a commander in 2007. He has taught in the academy, teaching many modules and providing significant evaluator experience for scenario training. Most recently, Dean served as the interim for this position, which started in January. We found ourselves in a need, and Dean stepped up and was willing to do that. And he is very dedicated, as so many of our instructors, and Chief Jack Amoroso, the director of the program. So with that, I welcome Dean Morrow.
I don't have a lot to say. It's just a pleasure to have this appointment, and I've enjoyed my time as the interim, and I look forward to pushing the program forward and ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Saturdays and Sundays, that's dedication. All right, well, that concludes our staff and board reports. So we'll move on to other reports, and the first one on the list is Academic Senate, and I don't believe Greg Tamer is here today.
No.
So we will not have an Academic Senate report. Next is the Costa President's Report. Mr. Hurst is here.
Thank you.
Mr. Nunes. I want to first formally congratulate Brent on sitting in the hot seat there. And I expect tip-off to be on time from here on. I look forward to continuing our good relations, and just a couple weeks ago in June, our faculty voted overwhelmingly to ratify the tentative agreement reached in the last round of bargaining. I misspoke earlier, Brent, when I was talking to you. I think I told you 71% of faculty voted. It was actually 76% of faculty took their time out of being on break to vote to ratify the agreement. There were no votes. There were 3 abstentions, whatever. But the voter turnout is a record for Costa, and it would be easy, I think, to chalk that all up to a raise that brought us largely into parity with our sister districts. But what was more important for me personally, behind the scenes, I received numerous comments congratulating Costa for the let's work together approach that my team believes in. I feel like the relationships between faculty and staff and management are in a great place, and maybe the best since I've been here. And that's not just our doing. The congratulations also belong to you, Brent, and Jennifer, and Christine, and Stan in absentia. Change is never easy, and ingrained cultures are the hardest to change. But we're as committed as I think you all are to a healthy workplace, and I very much appreciate the trust the board has shown in my team. So I feel good that over summer break, a record number of faculty took the time to participate in a vote endorsing these efforts. And I hope you feel the same way we do. We look forward to a positive accreditation experience and, positive workplace in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hurst. I think it's also credit to you and to your leadership group that you had 76% turnout to vote. So we thank you for that. Anybody, any other comments?
Oh, well, it's kind of a refreshing change, a real pleasure to see that everybody at the college, Costa, the board, faculty, have the same goal. And may all have slightly different way to get there, but have the same goal is cool.
Okay, next up is CSEA, and Mr. Lamar
I would
is
just
present.
quickly like to welcome our new master and commander.
Right.
Got a title?
Thank you.
You're gonna say that. But. Also, last Thursday we met for our first negotiation, and I wanted to thank the district team for the honesty, the candidacy, the frankness. It was a good session. We all had a lot of issues to talk about, and it was done around the table in a great way. And we meet again this Wednesday, and I look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, next up is COSAFA, Dr. Erickson.
Also, we'd like to congratulate you for being in the president's seat and look forward to decades of service and leadership.
Decades, cool.
The last time I saw all of you was at graduation, and that was certainly a very inspiring experience, and I was happy that so many adjunct faculty were able to come and that we were able to witness the success of students. That is the major reason why we're all here, because to see the excitement and to see that they've achieved their dreams. And like I said, when I met the board, I was also a first-generation college student in our family, and so it's a very touching moment. Also to say that we don't start negotiations yet, or at least we haven't been asked to, so I'm sure that will happen soon. We always like to see if we could get it done in May before we leave for the summer, but I know the state budget caused a delay in that, so we look forward to when we will meet, and if that's in August, we will do it, I think, as cordially as we did it last year. Saw some great games when I was in Chicago. I do have to say that we were there for the 3 Phillies games, and if anybody watches Cubs baseball, never leave a Cubs game early, Ken, when you're there, because we were at the game where it was bottom of the ninth, 2 outs. Hayward shows up, 2 strikes, and hits a grand slam.
Yeah.
And we hadn't left early. It was a great time to be at Wrigley Field. So thank you. If there's anything that we can do over the summer, I'm available. And thank you so much for all of your hard work this hot summer, especially for you, Megan.
All right, well, thank you. Cubs win, huh? Okay, next item is the consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. An item may be removed from the consent calendar at the request of any member of the Board of Trustees or any person in the audience and considered as a separate agenda item. Are there any items on the consent calendar which need to be acted on separately? If not, then I would...
Move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second for approval of the consent calendar. There being no further discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
There's none opposed, so consent calendar is adopted. Moving on to action items. First item is ratification of the TA between the district and Costa 2018-19 reopener negotiations. Mr. Bratch.
This past spring and the early part of summer, we had a very, very good negotiation round with Costa, and we settled after only a few negotiation sessions. We're currently operating under a 3-year bargaining agreement that expires in June of 2019, but this year both sides have the option to open up salary benefits in a couple of articles. And the tentative agreement we reached is within the board packet, but a few highlights of this tentative agreement I thought I would bring out. The first, of course, the most important has to do with salary, and we agreed to a 6.5% increase for all full-time faculty members. That will become effective with the August 2018. And secondly, we increased the health cap by a small amount. We increased it by $84 per year. That raises our medical cap from $16,152 per year to a total of $16,236 per year. Additionally, full-time faculty members elected to choose a few new health plans that would be available to their unit members. Finally, we made some language changes within our recent round of negotiations, and you can see all those language changes within the tentative agreement. With that, I would ask the board to formally ratify the tentative agreement reached between the district and Costa.
Any other questions for Mr. Bratch? Comments? If not, I would entertain a motion for the ratification of and approval of the tentative agreement.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second for the approval of the tentative agreement as outlined by Mr. Bratch. Is there any additional discussion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda. Thank you, Mr. Bratch. Next item on the agenda is the resolution to award contract to purchase surplus real property commonly known as the Parking Lot 5, Mooney Boulevard, and this is a resolution.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Burr, I'm going to have to disqualify myself for this particular matter. One of the bidders on this project is a client of mine. I have not advised him on this property, and I'm not going to do any work on this particular property, but I have been his engineer on numerous development projects over the years elsewhere, and that clearly disqualifies me.
All right, thank you, Mr. Zumwalt, for that. And so I would ask, then we will not have a quorum to vote on this. Shall we have the presentation regarding this item in any way? Or shall we just,
Let's do it at a special meeting.
just do it at the special meeting?
Sure, in light of the fact that Ms. Cardoza is not with us tonight, we will work to get a special board meeting scheduled sometime in the next week, possibly even next Monday. We can check with schedules and notice that appropriately and revisit this at that time.
Okay.
So if you would, I'm available Monday and you're
I'm available Monday,
And,
up until about 2:30.
so if we could do it sometime
lunch or
around
meeting.
midday,
Okay.
and if you wouldn't mind confirming that with trustee Cardoza.
We'll be in contact
then,
with Ms. Cardoza and get back to both of you to confirm tomorrow, and then we'll schedule it
To
appropriately.
the appropriate posting. Okay, somebody wave Mr. Zumwalt back in. All right, we have,
Oh, we didn't do that.
okay, do we need let's just do it to be safe, a
What's that?
motion to.
You and I'll make the motion, you're gonna second, and then it'll be two of us vote? I don't think he can't vote on
We
it.
can't vote on it.
So there's,
Just declare it.
I guess it's just done.
you just tabled it, that's what you
Okay, we
did.
just tabled.
You just
Yeah.
tabled it.
All right. Okay, where am I here? All right, next item is another resolution, and I think we can all vote on this one. Item 11, resolution for signatures on district bank accounts. And that is, Ms. Staton is coming back up for this
Ms.
one.
Staton, we've heard this before, I think. I make a motion we approve. Second. It's not that we don't wanna hear from you tonight.
All right, we have a motion and a second for approval of resolution 2018-18 regarding approved signatures on the bank account. So if there's no further discussion or questions, we need to pull the board.
Trustee Zumwalt?
Aye.
Trustee Sherman?
Aye.
Trustee Nunez?
Aye. Resolution 2018-18 is unanimously adopted, and we are now going to hear from Mr. Byron Woods regarding our annual 5-year construction plan update, and I'm sure we're going to have lots of questions on this
You
one.
can move to approve on this one if you want.
Forget it.
Okay, so before you, you have the annual submission of the 5-year construction plan to the Chancellor's office. This is for the years 2020, 2024. As you're aware, we submit this annually. Usually it's July 1st, but this year it's due August 1st. And we always plan 2 years in advance, hence the 2020 planning date there. So in front of you, you've got the second page of the document is a list of all the projects we will be proposing here within the 5-year plan. Project number 1, so I'll go through them briefly. Project number 1, that is our priority project as a district, the Basic Skills Center, replacing the, here on the Visalia campus, replacing the Buckeye Building and General Grant buildings, and providing a new 15,000 square foot Basic Skills Center. The status of it is FPP approved. FPP is final project proposal. You'll see IPP later, that's initial project proposal. So this project was approved by the State Chancellor's Office for inclusion in Proposition 51. Proposition 51, just to remind you, was approved back by the state, or by California voters in November 2016. The state did not elect to fund this project in the first year of funding in 2017-18. They also didn't, the governor also did not include the project in his 2018-19 budget. Those 2 years we've not been included. Of the 29 projects that were included in the Prop 51 list for community colleges, I think 24 or 25 have been approved for funding. Christine?
At the final moment,
Okay, so back down to 21. At that time, they did give us, just this spring, they did give us a chance to provide a local contribution, funding contribution to our project to increase the score of the project and make it more appealing to the Department of Finance. So with that, the district has committed to providing a local funding contribution of $1.65 million, which is about 10 to 12% of the total project cost. We are committed to providing those funds if the project is approved for funding in 1920. If it is not, then we have the option to pull those funds back or revisit the funding for that project. So you can see the occupied date there, 2022, 2023. Project cost is a little over $14 million, construction at just under $11 million. So that's the Basic Skill Center project. Tulare Center Phase 2. So this is to accommodate the vocational programs as well as the programs that are currently housed at the TCC Downtown Annex in downtown Tulare. We will be resubmitting this project as an IPP, Initial Project Proposal. It doesn't score really well right now, and you'll see the next project, number 3. These two are kind of related. Just a few years back, we separated the enrollment. Hanford enrollment was carried under Tulare, so we had separated the Hanford enrollment, created its own site in Fusion, our space inventory enrollment kind of database. And by doing so, that decreased the score quite a bit for the Tulare Center. So it doesn't score really well at this time, but we still keep it in the queue. It is still our second priority project as a district, and the top priority project for the Tulare campus. So we resubmitted as an IPP, occupancy 2024-25, and you can see the cost there, $31 million and $26 for construction.
Byron,
Yes.
tell me on the site, that building would be located where in relation to the...
So if you're familiar with the
to
Tulare campus, Building C currently houses it's the welding shop.
Right.
So this would provide 2 more wings to it. One kind of runs north-south on the east side of it, and then one that runs south of that east-west, and kind of create a little U-shape on the site. So between the solar field and Building
Right.
C is where that would be
Got
located.
it.
So 2 buildings. Yeah, any other questions about the Tulare project while we're on it?
Is there a chance that we would, the way that sits, there's no local match for that?
Correct. There's no local match, 100% funded by the state. The way the local match works is you get 1 point for every percent of the construction cost that you contribute. So you can see we contributed approximately 10 to 12% of the basic skills cost. That gave us 10 to 12 points in the project.
Right.
Overall, the total project's worth 200 points. We currently score at about 162 with the local contribution. Before, as of last year, we were at 150. Most of the districts around the state will not put that local contribution down, so they're likely at the 150 mark. So it does.
So,
I think it's if we're in a strong financial situation as a district, I think it's a great idea to pony up to 10%. If you think $1.6 million could possibly get us a
Yeah.
$14 million
That-
project.
And that gets me back to the basic skills then contribution.
Mhm.
And those funds are earmarked in a reserve fund of some sort?
I'd have to defer to Ms. Staton.
Capital Projects Fund has,
You might recall in June, we moved $1.8 million out, and then we found ourselves in this kind of immediate, urgent position of needing to try to match or not having a chance of funding. So
Right.
the timing worked out well there in capital projects.
yeah, so that was for the property, that was acquired when you took some money out of the capital projects, correct? The
No.
apartment, the property on Mooney, I mean, the
So
bookstore.
It's actually just a resolution we brought to you in June with the.
Oh, okay.
And it was just extra general funds, so it would primarily have been earned from growth.
Right,
And
right.
It amounted to 2.8 million, and the recommended split was looking at 1.8 in capital projects, with 2 million in general funds for future expenses that will most likely be instruction related.
Got it.
Now, just kind of on that subject, when we sell the lot across the way, Can some of that money go then and maybe on the Tulare project as a down payment or something?
It could.
I don't know what we said we were gonna do with those funds.
I think the idea was to use those towards future property purchases. But it would be at the discretion of the board when those occur. They'll probably go sit in capital projects or could go to Linwood Reserve at the discretion of the board.
Okay.
For whatever reason. But that's the decision.
I'd also like to clarify that based on the construction scheduling for basic skills, you see an occupancy date of 2022-23. Our portion of funds, our committed funds, the 1.6 million, the state would not need that until the end of construction. So, worst case scenario, you can always borrow $1.6 million in 2022 if you have to
Right.
fulfill your end of the deal. So they don't ask for it up front.
Your various associations have a feel for Newsom's attitude toward releasing the bond funds?
I have no idea.
Well, the various groups that work with stuff in the state have no opinion?
It changes every single day. Every time I talk to them, they say, "Oh, yes, you know, it's looking good at the state level." And the next day it says, "Nope, there's no chance." And I know Ms. Statton's had the same conversations with them.
Well,
they're tough to read.
There's no chance of Brown. We knew that.
Right, you're right.
I think it might be better under Gavin Newsom. What's been rather unique is the Department of Finance has really pushed back to us, Russ is aware of this as well. They're really wanting to see local matches for anything they're gonna fund it. It's kind of why we committed with the basic skills. But, that's a new era. They haven't demanded that in the past. And the way our financing, it is structured at the state, it shouldn't be a requirement. But that's the county's office trying to get the Department of Finance and the governor early for funds. And so I'm hopeful it'll be a little better under the next.
It's gonna be better. It has to be better. Better than this. Oh, man. Okay, so so when I mentioned the Tulare Center, separating Hanford from the Tulare campus, that shows to the state that, you know, Hanford is growing. It also has a need for additional instructional space. So as it currently stands, I've drafted project number 3, an education expansion. This would be a new instructional building on the Hanford campus. You can see the square footage, 26,000 square feet. The focus would be science labs, computer labs, offices, and student support spaces. It scores pretty well at the state level. It would be submitted as an IPP this year. Occupancy down the road, 2025-26. You can see the cost there as well. This would be another project I'd really push to getting the local match on, just because of the current scoring of that project at that campus. And Hanford continues to grow. It's in a very good situation out there. And project number 4, current building modernization by Celia. This is a resubmittal also. And it would modernize, gutting the current building, and resubmitted as an IPP, 23-24, $16 million project, just over 13 for construction. So I did want to point out that I'm hoping that for 2018-19, one of my goals is to begin the process of developing a phased 20 to 25-year facilities master plan for each campus. It's going to take a while to do it, but if we just get started, I think it'll be very beneficial. We're in a great situation as a district, financially, enrollment. It's all coming together, and I think if we create that roadmap, that vision for the next 20 years of what we want to do, we can start to align these projects at the state level with that. And, project our vision, where we're going.
I really encourage you to do that. I find something like that invaluable. You change it every year, but so what?
Yeah.
You got
It's a working document.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any questions? Okay, with that, we're requesting authorization for the 2018 submittal of the 2020 to 2024
So moved.
5-year plan.
Oh, second. We're the only ones.
All right, so we have a motion and a second for the approval of the 20 to 24 capital outlay construction plan to be filed. Is there any additional questions or discussion? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion carries.
Thank you.
All right.
Ken?
Yes.
Something I don't know. Do we need a clerk?
Do we need a clerk? We will, I don't know the answer to that, and I would defer that to Mr. Calvin, and they will research that, and we can address it.
I'd hate to
or we
see
could.
something needed. I know Earl was always signing something at every meeting.
Shall,
Most of the time, the documents that we sign are secretary or clerk, and superintendent serves as secretary. So I think we're okay right now, but
We'll check into it,
Yeah.
and then.
Yeah, and then we can point John and, no, he's the vice president, so he can't be the guy.
yeah, I think that's a good job for you. All right, so,
I don't think you have anything to say about it.
so unless there's nothing
Keep it
else
on
on, that concludes our agenda for today, and as I look at the clock here, it's only 6 o'clock.
It must be-
I think we need to call retired President Carrizosa and tell him that, that we got done in,
They'll keep you on the phone till 7 o'clock.
we got done in an hour. So, thank you all for being with us here today, and there are no further business, so the meeting is adjourned.